There's 6 core qualities for training of the heart and mind and body. And the very first one is attention. Because without attention, we'd pretty much be lost, right? We'd be on autopilot all the time. We'd just be following our habit energies, like my cat. So I want to start out. Oren J. Sofer talks about attention. He uses this metaphor that I really love. He talks about it as seeds. He uses this metaphor of seeds. What I'd like to do for you is I'm going to do some drawing. We're going to have a little art now. So make sure you can see your screen. And I'm going to share my whiteboard with you. We'll see how this goes. I haven't done this before, so. All right, so in talking about attention, one of my favorite ways of thinking about it was shown to me by the nuns and monks at the Plum Village Monastery in France, and then later at the Blue Cliff Monastery here in upstate New York. And Thich Nhat Hanh talks about our consciousness in the following way. So we have our consciousness, which we're going to represent with a circle. Are you able to see this circle? All right, great. And there's this line that we move across the circle because our consciousness is divided into 2 spaces. And the first space is, we'll just call it our consciousness. So the consciousness is above the line. This circle represents our awareness, our consciousness, our existence. Below the line is what he calls your store consciousness. So we have our consciousness and our store consciousness. The upstairs is our living room. And the downstairs, below the line, is the basement. Okay, so our consciousness is really what we see on a day-to-day basis, what we are aware of. So I'm sitting here and I see you and I'm aware of your presence here. So that's very much in my consciousness. You're in my living room. The store consciousness is happening below our awareness, below our actual active awareness. It's all that other stuff that's happening unbeknownst to us. For example, maybe I'm focused on you and sharing this information with you, and maybe there's something that happened yesterday that's nagging at me and making me a little bit tense and upset, but that's not in the living room right now because I'm not focused on that. My attention and my consciousness is here. There's only so much each person can have in their awareness at any given time. There we go. Let me make this up to down in your subconscious. Maybe call this our subconscious as opposed to store conscious. Down in the subconscious, where we don't really know what's happening, but it's all down in there, we have these seeds. And I'm going to represent the seeds as these little dots. All right. We have all these seeds. And the seeds are qualities within us that exist in all of us. They exist in me, they exist in you. Okay? These are fear, greed, hatred, ignorance. The seeds of those qualities exist in every single last one of us, as well as the qualities of contentment, generosity, love, joy. They're all down in the basement, ready to pop up into the living room. The thing about this metaphor that I love so much is the way that we bring forth these qualities is that we water them like seeds. So if you wanted a seed to grow, you would water it and it would come up. So let me put this pen here. We'll put some rain. And now anger is able to grow. How do you water the seeds in your store consciousness? This is what Thich Nhat Hanh taught us. How do you water these seeds in you? How do you water the seed of anger in you? Is with your attention. You apply your attention to things that would make you angry. Similarly, if you want to water the seeds of compassion, we have the compassion seed here. You want to water that seed. I think I'm having too much fun with my art project, but this is really nice. We put our attention to activities and thoughts that foster a sense of compassion. And the thing I like about this metaphor is a couple of things. Number one is there's a part of our life that we're very aware of. The things that are happening in the living room, we know what's going on. So we have what's going on in the living room. We're aware of that. And then there's this whole other part of us that's happening behind the scenes, below the surface, that we don't have awareness of. And we can be watering the seeds of different things in us at any given time, all throughout the day, based on the quality of our attention, based on what we are turning towards and turning away from. And so an example of that would be, a great example would be doom scrolling. You know that phrase? I don't know if any of you do that, probably not as many as the young people, but where you read a story, it's alarming, and you follow it. And these seeds of fear are now being watered out of, really, now you're putting Miracle-Gro into your seeds. The metaphor is helpful also in that it allows you to know that when you have reactions that come from a place of anger or hatred or greed or delusion, when those things do happen, because they happen with all of us, it just lets you know that you're very normal. Like every other person here has the exact same seeds. It's just that your watering project is, needs to be modified. Right? You need to start turning your attention over to some other activity or some other thought process. One other thing that he pointed to, and I'm glad he spent time on it, is, and I don't know how much the people here in this class have issues with this, but, modern life introduced something that we've never dealt with before that severely challenges our attention, that severely increases our distractibility, and that's the smartphone. The internet, yes, and now it's even worse, it's the smartphone. And again, I don't know what each of your habits are. When I walk through AU campus, I live right near AU, and I take my dog over to AU campus a lot. And there's hundreds of students walking around there. And they're all lost in their phones. Lost. And if they're not lost in their phones, they're clutching their phones. And so I have this game that I play with myself to help me, because I feel a sense of despair, right? Our young people, what's happening? I see it in my own 2 kids. I say to myself, I'll give $5. I'm going to come over with a wad of $5 bills, and I'm going to give $5 to any young person who's walking without a phone, either in their face or clutched in their fist. And I'm pretty sure I wouldn't even need $50 to make it through campus. It's that intense, the attention grab of the 2 of the most wealthy companies in our country. They deal in attention. They are minting money based on our attention. It's that valuable. So think about it. It's the thing you have in your control. If you apply some mindfulness that you can use in a powerful way. It's very, very powerful to have some measure of influence over your own attention. It's that powerful. I'll mention here, I heard a podcast last week that my cousin asked me to listen to because I think I was complaining about my, the stress, like when you hit certain age and your hormones change, your capacity for stress changes, blah, 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 blah. And she asked me to listen to this podcast, and it had all to do with cortisol. And what I learned is that your brain, so cortisol is this chemical that your body produces when you need to do a fight, flight, or freeze move. Something bad is about to happen and you need to take action of some kind for self-preservation. There's a survival thing that needs to happen. Cortisol pumps through your body. It's a stress response, right? It's a drug, and it's a very helpful drug that our brain makes for us. It gets us all pumped up. And it also, cortisol, when it's pumping kind of ongoing, it causes all kinds of problems, health problems, sleep problems, sense of anxiety, kind of that foreboding sense of dread that some people get. And the interesting thing is that you can be sitting in your living room perfectly safe. The weather is beautiful. Your next meal is in the refrigerator. And based on what you see, what you're flipping through on the internet, your brain will jump into that mode of needing to survive and will start pumping cortisol into your body. It doesn't know the difference. And so there you are now. You're wondering, why am I feeling so anxious all the time? So our work as meditation and mindfulness practitioners is to guard the sense doors. Guard your sense doors. The media is food for your mind, so eat the healthy diet. Using that, your basic human right to move your attention to a wholesome place, to a wholesome seed inside of your store consciousness. Moving your attention to generosity, compassion, love, caring, things like that. So that's when the external world is acting on us. And then there's all those times when we're by ourselves, we're quiet, we're not engaged with media, and there come the thoughts anyway. And, it's possible to be really troubled by our thoughts when nothing bad is happening. And we just have to remember that the thoughts are a compilation of your entire life. Your entire life is inside of your consciousness at any time. Luckily, we have our attention to attend to our thoughts just as well as we have our attention to attend to our external influences. The external nourishment that we have, we can do something about that, right? That's within our agency, that's within our power. And within our own mind, we also have that power. And it often feels like we don't because we don't have practice. We don't have the muscles, or we have some muscles, but not as many muscles as we might like. So this is why we meditate. We sit quietly and we move our attention to these benign places. We take refuge in our breath or our footsteps or making a cup of coffee. We're there with the coffee 110%. We are smelling it, we are seeing it, we're hearing it, we're there. We're taking refuge there, our attention is there. And only when we're doing that, when our mindfulness is strong, then the mind gets pulled away into some sort of thought. Then you notice it. Only if you're practicing present moment awareness will you have a hope of knowing when you get pulled away, and have a hope of seeing what it is that's arisen in your consciousness, having awareness of it. And only then are you able to make a choice. Oh, you know what? Oh, maybe let me move my attention somewhere else. Where else might I move my attention? Maybe I'll move my attention back to making this cup of coffee. Only because you got pulled away and you sensed something unwholesome, a seed in you that might be harmful to you. This is one of the greatest gifts of practicing mindfulness, is this ability to develop our attention. There's this great quote, you may have heard of it, or it's a saying or something. The legendary Chinese philosopher, the author of the Taoism. You may have heard this, I love this. He writes, watch your thoughts, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. So that's good news, because we know how to watch our thoughts. We know how to practice mindful daily living. We know how to practice meditation. So we know how to watch our thoughts, so we can get to the root of our destiny. We can change our destiny. We can watch our thoughts, have awareness.